Hi, I'm Dave Skinner. I would like to share with you something that's in my heart. I heard the president give the State of the Union speech address just the other night, and it amazes me that the American public are expected to be so naive and so gullible. What we heard were lies, lies, and more lies. And it's somewhat offensive that we should be expected just to swallow mindlessly everything hook, line, and sinker. A lie is defined very simply. It's a false statement made with a deliberate intent to deceive. I don't know if this is too deep to grasp, or maybe we just don't want to believe really that it's happening to us, that the president of our nation would look us straight in the eye and say something like that. It's heartbreaking. Perhaps, I guess, we just simply mimic back the data that we hear without any coherency or never connecting the dots. I just want to touch on a few things. I know the president claimed that both parties have worked together to reduce the deficit by more than $2.5 trillion. This is a lie. It's a deceptive line. It implies that both sides of the aisle think that his plan is rational. Not that he has one, but this is only an act of a future estimate of deficit reduction for the year 2022. Of course, everyone agrees that the deficit reduction is a good idea, but that's like me saying 9 years from now, I estimate my weight to be 175 pounds instead of 200 pounds if I eat right, exercise, refuse to eat desserts. Okay, but this has not been accomplished, and it's presented as if it has been accomplished, and it's not. What it's based on is the Budget Control Act of 2011, which simply placed caps on discretionary spending beginning in the year 2012, and the American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012, which prevented tax hikes on most Americans in 2013, but it did allow the rates to go up on the top 1% of taxpayers, which means that you that make the money of the upper 1% will be, you have an additional $120,000 in taxes to pay simply because you can afford it. And on this note, I'd like to just simply drop a comment about class welfare. The economic classes are divided basically into five quintales, five sections of 20% each. And the idea is that these are stagnant, and this is not accurate. The University of Michigan put out a report along with the IRS that tracked individual people. And you can talk about the rich and you can talk about the poor, but if you talk about people, the people who are rich now used to be poor people. Only 4% of the people who are in the bottom 20% spend their lives down there. The other 96% get out. They go into the middle class or upper middle. They pass through these ranks. And as a matter of fact, 24% of the people in the bottom 20% hit the top 20%. And so it's not accurate to talk about the rich and the poor. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The truth is, in America, in a free enterprise system, in our capitalistic free marketplace, it's simply not true. Poor people have the opportunity to climb out. Yes, when they're young, they're in the bottom quintile. Maybe they're starting as a waitress, waiting on tables. But you know what? In a couple years, they're going to own the restaurant. At least they can here in the United States of America. So this is entirely deceptive. Lies, lies, lies. Also, we heard claim that this administration was responsible for the growth of 500,000 manufacturing jobs over the past 3 years. Well, if you go back 4 years, you're going to find out what that means is that he got back 490,000 of the 1,096,000 jobs that were lost during the time of his office. We've lost 606,000 manufacturing jobs since President Obama took office, and this growth is stalled as of July 2012. Let me put it like this. In January of 2009, the jobs that were active and available in this group were 12,556,000. In January 2010, a year later, there were only 11,460,000. 11 is smaller than 12. So there was a loss. Yes, some were gained back in January of 2013 by the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that 11,950,000 jobs. But the way this is presented is that there's a net gain. There is not a net gain, maybe over 3 years, but if you go back since the beginning of the administration, we have lost 606,000 jobs in net. So this is a lie. It's not true. More lies is that we were told that we have doubled the distance that our cars will go on a gallon of gas. Not true. The average EPA city highway sticker mileage of a light-duty vehicle sold in January of 2013 was 24.5 miles per gallon. Okay, so where did this come from? I can tell you where it came from. It came from a future federal fuel efficiency standard, which will call for cars and light trucks to achieve 54.5 miles per gallon by the year 2025. Okay, so this is not an accomplishment. 12 years from now, everybody hopes it will be, but to pass it off as this is something that we've done is absolutely deceitful. Obamacare was another one. He also mentioned that the Affordable Care Act is helping to slow down the growth of health care costs. Well, health care costs began to slow down in the year 2009. And guess what? The law wasn't even signed until 2010. So the slowdown started before he even signed the law, and most of the law doesn't even take effect until 2013. So the question that I have is, why are we being lied to? Why all this rhetoric? Why the gun control was another one, to bring in the families of those murdered children and those people, whether it was a shopping mall, a movie theater, a school. These are all these people were murdered in no gun zones where there were no guns. That's where they were murdered. And he exploited the emotions and feelings of these people for his own personal agenda. Why don't we make all of America gun-free zone? Why don't we all get murdered by people that have guns? The logic is totally irrational. What it is in concept is if you remove the weapons from people, then they won't do you any harm. Well, let me ask you, is an F-16 fighter jet an assault weapon? Because they're certainly going off to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Is this to show that they're going to be pacifist with Israel? I don't think so. You may not believe in a moral universe, but I'm here to tell you that morality is the only cohesion that exists, because in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and his essence and his actions are inseparable. So there is an enemy. There is an enemy who's trying to turn this whole thing upside down. And honestly, he's not black. He's not white. He's not Democrat, Republican. He's not rich or poor, not an American, an Iranian. He's not a Muslim, an atheist, a Jew, or a Christian. He's not an ism, not an ideology. He's not a welfare giver or a welfare taker. He's a liar. And his goal is to kill, to steal, and to destroy. That's what the enemy, that's what the devil, and laugh if you want, but this is a spiritual warfare. His goal to kill. We're already killing 3,000 children a day, abortions in the United States. But guess what? We are funding, you, the taxpayer, are paying $769,500,000 in the year 2012 because of Mr. Obama's request, at his request, to murder 125,000 children a day worldwide. So in other words, we are funding abortions around the world. The devil is a killer. He came to kill. He came to steal. That simply means to extort other men's goods and labor for personal inurement, okay? And to destroy, well, that's being done through the dismantling of the infrastructure for future generations. Destroy what? Take the hope away. Dismantle the mechanism that gives hope, that gives equal opportunity. Please understand, equal opportunity and equal wealth cannot exist together. They are opposite. They are polar opposites. If you're going to have equal wealth, you cannot have equal opportunity. If you have equal opportunity, you cannot have equal wealth. Okay? So why are we concerned about, or why am I concerned about this? I'm an American. Am I just trying to make America stand strong? Yes, I'm patriotic, but that's not my real reason. Before I am an American, I am a Christian. Before I'm white, I'm a Christian. Before I'm a conservative, before I'm anything, I am a Christian first. And I understand that this nation, and you can argue all you want, say we're not a Christian nation, it was founded by Christians, okay? And the framework of the Constitution, they say, well, Benjamin Franklin was a deist, and Thomas Edison and Monroe who formed it, yada, yada. Okay, but 19 of the signers of the 56 were Jesus shouting, hand raising, I'm a Christian, you-hoo, look at me, I'm all about Jesus people, okay? And the Constitution was written in the framework of the Christian ethic. It's not Hindu, it's not Islam, it's not Sharia, it's none of those things. All the state constitutions, why do they take off Sunday? Why is there no legislation allowed on Sunday? Well, the atheists don't take off Sunday. The Jews don't take off Sunday. The Muslims, the Hindus, they don't take Sunday off. Christians do. It was a Christian culture at the time that this nation, and it was formed on that. That's why we have been blessed by God. We gave the world things that no other nation on earth has done. The automobile, the light bulb, the television, the internet, MRI, you name it, the list goes on. There has never been a nation like the United States of America. So why am I so adamant about this country? Simply because the USA is the preacher of the world. It funds more missionaries, and I am one. It funds more missionaries and has more of the gospel coming off these shores, going around the world, radio, television, books, cassettes, DVDs, whatever, flesh and blood missionaries going up and down the Amazon River in the jungles, talking to people about Jesus. That's what the United States is. It's all about world evangelism, and every effort of these lies to destroy and dismantle our country here. Because look, if the Lord doesn't build the city, then the labor is in vain who builds it, okay? If America is not about God, if the Lord doesn't guard the city, the watchman is awake in vain. It doesn't matter. But the real purpose has been and is at this point a sender of missionaries. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every person. That was the last commission that Jesus gave, and there has never been a country like the United States of America that does it. So as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I am not going quietly. While everything falls apart here, I'm going to stand and I'm going to raise the banner of Christ. And I have this statement to make, that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Heartbreaking. Perhaps, I guess, we just simply mimic back the data that we hear without any coherency or never connecting the dots. I just want to touch on a few things. I know the president claimed that both parties have worked together to reduce the deficit by more than $2.5 trillion. Hi, I'm Dave Skinner. I would like to share with you something that's in my heart. I heard the president give the State of the Union address just the other night. And it amazes me that the American public are expected to be so naive and so gullible. What deliberate intent to deceive. I don't know if this is too deep to grasp, or maybe we just don't want to believe really that it's happening to us, that the president of our nation would look us straight in the eye and say something like that. We heard were lies, lies, and more lies. And it's somewhat offensive that we should be expected just to swallow mindlessly everything hook, line, and sinker. A lie is defined very simply. It's a false statement made with $1 billion. This is a lie. It's a deceptive line. It implies that both sides of the aisle think that his plan is rational. Not that he has one, but this is only an act of a future estimate of deficit reduction.